Counselor Vren stood in the center of the grand chamber, looking at the empty seat where humanity once sat. 50 years had passed since that seat went dark. 50 years since Earth disappeared from the galaxy. He should have felt victorious. Instead, something cold settled in his chest. The other council members celebrated around him. They talked about the peaceful decades, the stable economy, the end of human aggression. Vren smiled and nodded, but the smile never reached his eyes. He remembered the day they voted to exile humanity. He remembered Ambassador Jiho's face. Jiho had been calm that day. Too calm. He stood before the council as they listed their complaints. Humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous for civilized space. They built weapons when others built gardens. They prepared for war when others prepared for peace. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was out. Jiho had simply nodded. He packed his things from the embassy. He said goodbye to no one. The last thing he did was leave a small data chip on his desk with a note that read, "For when you finally understand." Then he walked out. No anger, no pleading, just silence. The council expected humans to beg for mercy. They expected economic collapse, political chaos, maybe even violence. Instead, something stranger happened. Every human in the galaxy simply went home. Within 6 months, every human colony, every station, every ship returned to Earth's solar system. They didn't fight. They didn't argue. They just left. Then Earth vanished. One day it was there, visible on all sensors, quiet but present. The next day, nothing. No explosion, no debris, no trace. The entire planet, the moon, every human installation simply ceased to exist. Scientists searched for answers. They found none. Earth was gone and humanity with it. Vren left the celebration early. His office felt too large, too empty. He sat at his desk and stared at the old data chip Jiho had left behind. He had never opened it. Fear, pride, guilt. He wasn't sure which stopped him. But tonight, on the 50th anniversary of humanity's exile, he finally slid it into his computer. A hologram flickered to life. Jiho appeared younger, tired but with eyes that held something Vren couldn't name. The recording began to play. If you're watching this, 50 years have passed. You made your choice. We made ours. You feared what we might become, so you pushed us away. That's fine. We understand fear, but you should understand something too. We came to you as friends. We offered our hands, our knowledge, our protection. You saw weapons where we offered shields. You saw aggression where we offered strength. Jiho's image paused, then continued. We warned you about the dark. We told you something was coming from beyond the rim. You called us warmongers. You said we invented threats to justify our military. You were wrong. But you won't believe that until it's too late. The hologram showed coordinates. This is the last human research station outside our solar system. We left it powered down but functional. Go there. See what we were working on. See what we tried to warn you about. Maybe then you'll understand why we built what we built. Why we prepared the way we prepared. Jiho's face grew sad. We're leaving now. Not because you forced us, but because we choose to. You wanted us gone, congratulations, but know this, the galaxy will forget us. That's what we want. To be forgotten. To be left alone. We came as friends. We leave as nothing. And that, Counselor Vren, is exactly what you asked for. The hologram ended. Vren sat in silence, the coordinates burning in his vision. He should report this to the council. He should follow protocol. Instead, he sent a message to Lieutenant Minho, his most trusted security officer. Prepare a ship. Small crew. We're taking a trip. 3 days later, they stood at the bridge of a fast courier ship. The crew was small, just Vren, Minho, and a handful of scientists. They jumped to the coordinates Jiho had provided. The station appeared on their screen, silent and dark, orbiting a dying red star. Minho whistled low. That's human architecture. Old style. Must be from before the exile. He ran a scan. Still has emergency power. Atmosphere is stable. Whatever they left here, they wanted it preserved. They docked with the station. The airlock opened with a hiss and stale air rushed out. Inside, the corridors were clean, organized, untouched by time. Personal photos hung on walls. Coffee cups sat on desks. It looked like everyone had simply walked away in the middle of their shift. Vren touched a picture on one wall. It showed a group of humans smiling, arms around each other. One of them was a young woman with kind eyes. The name tag below read Dr. Hennel, Chief Physicist. He wondered where she was now, if she was alive. If any of them were, they found the central computer core deep in the station. Minho activated it, and lights flickered on throughout the facility. Screens came to life displaying data from 50 years ago. Research logs, experiment results, security footage. Then something unexpected happened. A hologram materialized in front of them. It was Dr. Hennel from the photo, but older, more tired. She looked at them with surprise, then understanding. "Hello," she said softly. "I'm not really Dr. Hennel. I'm a backup consciousness she left in the system. I've been alone here for 50 years, maintaining this station, waiting for someone to come. I didn't think anyone would, but I'm glad you did. There are things you need to know, things about what humanity found, things about what's coming." Vren stepped closer. "What things? What was humanity working on here?" The hologram smiled sadly. "Everything the Council feared, and nothing they understood. We weren't preparing to attack you, Counselor. We were preparing to defend you, but you pushed us away before we could finish, before we could warn you properly. Now I'll show you what we found in the dark, and then you'll understand why we had to leave. Why we had no choice." She gestured to the screens around them. They filled with data, images, recordings. Vren's blood ran cold as he began to understand. In the background, their ship's sensors suddenly blared an alarm. Minho ran to check the readings, his face going pale. "Counselor," Minho said, his voice shaking, "I'm picking up something at the edge of our sensor range. It's massive, and it's coming from beyond the galactic rim, just like the humans said it would." Dr. Hennel's hologram looked at them with pity. "It's starting. What we warned you about. What we tried to prepare for. The Council thought we were paranoid. They thought we were dangerous. They were wrong on both counts, but now it's too late. The question is, are you ready to face what's coming without us?" Vren stared at the screens, at the data showing something ancient and terrible moving toward the galaxy. He thought about Jiho's calm face the day of exile. He thought about humanity's quiet departure, and he finally understood. They hadn't left in defeat. They had left to survive, to prepare, to become something the galaxy would need but would never deserve. "We need to go back," he whispered. "We need to warn the Council." Dr. Hennel shook her head. "Too late for warnings, Counselor. It's time for action. But first you need to see everything. You need to understand what humanity became after you cast us out, because that's the only way you'll understand what's about to happen next." Dr. Hennel's hologram led them deeper into the station. The corridors felt haunted not by ghosts but by memories. Pictures of human families, children's drawings stuck to walls with old tape, a birthday card left on a desk never delivered. Each item was a reminder that real people had lived here, worked here, and then vanished. Lieutenant Minho stopped at one photo. It showed a human child holding up a drawing of stars and planets. "Where did they all go?" he asked quietly. "All these people. Did they die when Earth disappeared?" "No," Dr. Hennel said. "They went home. Everyone went home. When the Council exiled us, we had a choice. Fight or flee. We chose a third option. We chose to transcend." She gestured for them to follow. "Let me show you what I mean." They entered the main research lab. It was massive, filled with equipment Vren didn't recognize. Strange machines hummed with residual power. Screens displayed equations that hurt to look at. In the center stood a device that looked like a tear in space itself. "This is a dimensional fold generator," Dr. Hennel explained. The real Dr. Hennel invented it. It was her life's work. It allows you to fold a section of space into a pocket dimension, completely separate from the main universe, invisible, unreachable, safe. Vren felt his stomach drop. "Earth, you folded Earth into another dimension." "Not just Earth," the hologram corrected. "The entire solar system. The sun, the planets, the asteroid belt, every human station and colony. We took it all and moved it somewhere else. Somewhere you could never find us. Somewhere we could live in peace. Or prepare for war, depending on what the galaxy forced us to do." Minho walked around the device, studying it with growing unease. This technology. The Council banned dimensional research decades ago. They said it was too dangerous, too unstable. They banned it because humans were getting good at it, Dr. Hennel said flatly. "Every technology we excelled at, the Council restricted. Dimensional folding, quantum weapons, singularity engines. They said it was for safety. Really, they were afraid. Afraid we'd become too powerful. Afraid we'd threaten their control. Vren couldn't argue. He remembered those votes. He had supported them, believing they were necessary. Now, standing in this abandoned lab, he wondered how many other mistakes the Council had made. "Show us everything," Vren said. "No more secrets. We need to know what humanity was working on. All of it." Dr. Hanul nodded and activated a series of screens. The first showed deep space scans. "This is what we found 10 years before the exile. We were conducting standard surveys of the galactic rim when we detected something, massive energy signatures moving through dark space. Not natural, not random, intelligent." The next screen showed mathematical projections. We calculated their trajectory, their speed, their purpose. They were coming toward our galaxy, not to explore, to consume, to harvest. Every 50 to 100,000 years, they sweep through a galaxy, strip it of resources, and move on. We just happened to spot them early. Minho stared at the data. This is what Ambassador Jiho tried to warn the Council about. The threat from the rim. We thought he was lying, making it up to justify human militarization. "He showed you this data," Dr. Hanul said, her voice cold. "He brought experts, scientists, military analysts. All human, so the Council dismissed them as biased. When he suggested non-human researchers verify the findings, the Council refused. They said humanity was too paranoid, too aggressive, too eager for conflict." Another screen activated, showing weapons designs. Vren recognized some of them. Quantum disruptors, singularity missiles, dimensional shields, all technologies the Council had banned. "You built them anyway," he whispered. "We had to," Dr. Hanul replied. The Council wouldn't prepare, wouldn't listen, wouldn't act. So we prepared alone. We built weapons you called illegal. We developed defenses you called paranoid. And when you exiled us for it, we took all that knowledge and disappeared. You wanted us gone. We made sure we'd never be found." Vren felt sick. The Council had created exactly what they feared. By restricting human research, they had forced it underground. By exiling humanity, they had removed the one species willing to defend the galaxy. Every decision, every vote, every restriction had led to this moment. "There's more," Dr. Hanul continued. She showed them security footage from the station's final days. Humans packed equipment, organized data, prepared to leave. They worked efficiently, calmly, as if they had planned this for months. Maybe they had. In one clip, a man stood in the command center. His uniform showed him as Chief Engineer G1. He spoke to the camera. "If anyone finds this, know that we left because we had to. Not because the Council forced us, but because staying would mean watching you all die when the threat arrives. We can't save you if you won't let us, so we're saving ourselves. Maybe that makes us selfish, or maybe it just makes us human." Another clip showed Captain Bora, a military officer, giving orders to her crew. "Take everything. Every weapon, every shield, every piece of technology we've developed. The Council wanted us gone. Let's make sure they can never find what we've learned. When the dark times come, they'll wish they had listened, but it will be too late." The final clip was Dr. Hanul herself. "The real one." She looked tired but determined. "I'm leaving a copy of my consciousness in the station's AI. If anyone comes looking, she'll show them the truth. Maybe it will matter. Maybe it won't, but at least we tried. We warned them. We offered to help. They chose fear over friendship. Let them live with that choice." The hologram Dr. Hanul turned to face Vren directly. "That's what I am. A ghost in a machine, left behind to tell the story, to make sure someone knew the truth. Humanity didn't abandon the galaxy out of spite. We left because you gave us no choice. And when the darkness comes, you'll face it alone, because the species that would have fought for you is gone." Minho checked his sensors again. "Counselor, that signal from the rim. It's getting stronger. Multiple contacts now. They're entering the outer edge of the galaxy." Vren's hands shook. "How long until they reach inhabited space?" "At current speed. 3 months. Maybe less if they accelerate." Minho looked pale. "Counselor, our ships aren't designed for this kind of threat. Our weapons are made for peacekeeping, not war. We're not ready." Dr. Hanul watched them with something like pity. "No, you're not. But humanity is 50 years in isolation, 50 years of nothing but research and development, 50 years of preparing for the threat you refuse to believe in. We're ready. The question is, Does the galaxy deserve our help? Vren felt the weight of his species' mistake crushing down on him. Can we contact them? Earth, humanity, whoever's left. Can we ask for help? The hologram shook her head. The dimensional fold is sealed. Nothing gets in. Nothing gets out. Unless they choose to open it. And I can tell you right now, Counselor, they're watching. They've been watching this whole time. They know the threat is here. The question is whether they care enough to do anything about it. Warning alarms blared throughout the station. Mignot ran to a console. We have incoming. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Unknown design. They're scanning us. Dr. Hennell's hologram began to flicker. The station is going into emergency shutdown. You have 10 minutes to get back to your ship. Go now. Tell the Council everything you've learned. Tell them humanity was right. Tell them the darkness is here. And tell them they're on their own. As they ran toward the airlock, Dr. Hennell's voice echoed through the corridors one last time. We gave you 50 years to prepare. You wasted them celebrating our absence. Now the bill comes due. Good luck, Counselor. You're going to need it. The hologram vanished. The lights went dark. And somewhere in the distance, something ancient and hungry turned its attention toward the galaxy that had sent away its only defenders. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Vren stood at the center trying to speak over the shouting. 2 months had passed since his return from the human station. 2 months of trying to convince the council that the threat was real. 2 months of being called paranoid, just like the humans had been. Senator Una slammed her fist on her desk. This is human propaganda. 50 years later and you're still falling for their lies. They want us to panic, to waste resources on imaginary threats. This is exactly why we exiled them. The threat is real. Vren shouted back. I saw the data. I spoke with their AI. The signals from the rim are growing stronger every day. Multiple contacts moving in formation heading straight for us. How much more proof do you need? Another counselor stood. Even if it's true, what do you suggest? That we beg humanity for help? They're gone. They chose to leave. We have our own military. Our own defenses. We don't need them. Vren pulled up the human files he had recovered. Our military is designed for peacekeeping. Border disputes. Pirate raids. These things coming from the rim are something else entirely. The humans knew it. They tried to prepare us. We refused to listen. And now, the chamber's warning system screamed to life. Red lights flashed. A junior officer burst through the doors, his face white with terror. Counselors. We have a situation. Multiple unknown vessels have entered the outer reach. They're attacking the mining colonies. Our defense fleet is engaging now. The council fell silent. Una recovered first. Put it on screen now. The main display activated, showing live footage from the battle. What Vren saw made his blood freeze. The unknown ships were massive, dark, angular things that seemed to absorb light. They moved with terrible purpose, ignoring the defense fleet's weapons fire. When they returned fire, council ships simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no debris, just gone. Within minutes, half the defense fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat. The dark ships followed, methodical and unstoppable. They reached the mining colony and began to harvest it. Not conquer. Not occupy. Harvest. They pulled apart the stations, extracted the resources, and consumed everything else. Millions of lives ended in silence. Senator Una stared at the screen, her earlier confidence gone. What are those things? The shrouded, Vren said quietly. That's what the human files called them. An extragalactic swarm. They move through galaxies every 100,000 years, stripping them of resources. The humans discovered them decades ago, tried to warn us. We called them warmongers. More reports flooded in. The shrouded weren't stopping at the outer reach. They were spreading, consuming colony after colony. Council military forces engaged them everywhere and lost everywhere. The weapons that kept peace in the galaxy were useless against this threat. Over the next 3 weeks, the Council lost 40% of its territory. Entire species evacuated their homeworlds. Refugee ships clogged the space lanes. Panic spread faster than the shrouded themselves. The galaxy that had been so peaceful, so stable, was collapsing. Vren barely slept. He coordinated evacuations, organized the remaining military forces, and tried to maintain order. But he knew they were losing. Every day brought more losses, more death, more proof that the humans had been right all along. Lieutenant Minho found him in his office late one night. "Counselor, we need to try." We need to contact humanity. It's our only chance. Vren looked at him with hollow eyes. How? The dimensional barrier is sealed. Dr. Hanul said nothing gets through unless they open it. They're watching us die and doing nothing. Then we broadcast a message. We point every transmitter in the galaxy at the Perseus arm and we beg. We admit we were wrong. We ask for help. What do we have to lose? Vren wanted to refuse. Pride demanded it. But pride had already cost them so much. He thought about Ambassador Jiho's calm face, about Dr. Hanul's sad hologram, about all the humans who had tried to help and been rejected. Draft the message in, he said finally. Make it honest. No politics. No excuses. Just the truth. Senator Yuna tried to stop him. This will destroy our credibility. Admitting we were wrong about humanity? The Council will never recover. The Council is already destroyed, Vren snapped. We've lost 2 worlds this week. 3 more are evacuating. Our military is in shambles. Our people are terrified. Credibility means nothing if we're all dead. He pushed past her and walked to the main communications array. Every major transmission station in the galaxy was linked together. All pointed toward the dark space where Earth used to be. Vren stood before the camera and began to speak. To humanity, wherever you are. This is Counselor Vren of the Galactic Council. 50 years ago, we made a mistake. We feared you. We blamed you. We exiled you. We were wrong. His voice cracked. You warned us about the threat from the Rim. We called you paranoid. You built defenses. We called you aggressive. You offered help. We offered exile. Every choice we made was wrong. Every fear we had was misplaced. And now we're paying the price. The shrouded are here. They're destroying us. Our weapons are useless. Our defenses are meaningless. We're losing. And we deserve it. We deserve it because we had the chance to prepare together and we chose to stand apart. We had the chance to trust you and we chose to fear you. Tears ran down Vren's face. I don't know if you can hear this. I don't know if you care. But I'm asking anyway, not as a counselor, not as a politician. As someone who finally understands what we threw away, please, if there's any mercy left in you, if there's any part of you that still remembers the galaxy you tried to protect. Help us, please. He cut the transmission. The chamber was silent. Senator Yuna looked disgusted. Others looked ashamed. Minho just looked sad. Will they respond? Minho asked. Vren wiped his eyes. I don't know. Would you? After everything we did to them? Days passed. The shrouded continued their advance. More colonies fell. More ships were destroyed. The Council's last major fleet made a desperate stand at the Celestial Nexus, their spiritual homeworld. They lasted 4 hours. The shrouded consumed the planet like it was nothing. Vren sat in his office watching the reports when every screen in the building suddenly changed. Every computer, every display, every communication device across the entire galaxy. They all showed the same thing. A human face. It wasn't anyone Vren recognized. A woman middle-aged with tired eyes and a sad smile. My name is Dr. Soman, she said. I speak for humanity. We received your message, Counselor Vren. All of your messages, actually. We've been listening this whole time, watching, waiting to see what you would do. We want you to know something. We don't forgive you. Forgiveness requires trust, and that trust is gone. But we also don't hate you. Hate requires caring. And we stopped caring about the Council's opinion 50 years ago. What we feel is something simpler. Disappointment. You could have been better. You chose not to be. Dr. Soman paused. But here's the thing about humans. We're stubborn. We're angry. We hold grudges. But we also can't stand by and watch innocents die for the sins of their leaders. So we'll help. Not because you deserve it, but because those refugees do. Those children do. Those billions of people who never voted to exile us do. She transmitted coordinates. Send every ship you can to this location. Every military vessel. Every armed freighter. Anything that can fight. We'll meet you there. And Counselor Vren, bring your shame with you. Because when this is over, the galaxy needs to remember what happens when fear triumphs over friendship. The transmission ended. Vren stared at the coordinates with shaking hands. Minho appeared at his door. Orders, sir? Vren stood slowly. Send the fleet, all of it. Every ship we have left. And prepare my personal vessel. I'm going with them. If humanity is offering us one last chance, I'm going to be there to take it. As they prepared to jump to the coordinates, Vren found a file waiting in his personal messages. It was from the human station's computer sent automatically. Inside was a single line from Admiral Taehyung's personal logs written decades ago. "Forgiveness is easy. Trust is earned, and we will never trust you again." Vren read it and understood. Humanity was coming to help. But they were not coming as friends. They were coming as something else entirely, something the Council had created through 50 years of rejection, and whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The Crimson Nebula was supposed to be empty, a dead zone at the edge of Council space, filled with radiation and debris from a star that died millennia ago. No one came here. No one wanted to. It was the perfect place for secrets. Vren's flagship dropped out of faster-than-light travel alongside what remained of the Council's military. 200 ships. Once it would have been impressive. Now it looked pathetic. Behind them came thousands of civilian vessels packed with refugees who had nowhere else to go. "Where are they?" Minho asked, scanning the nebula. Dr. Soman said to come here. "I don't see anything, no ships, no stations, nothing." Vren felt his heart sink. Had it been a trick? A cruel joke? Make them come here, waste time, let the Shrouded finish them off? He wouldn't blame humanity if that was the plan. Maybe the galaxy deserved it. Then the sensors started going crazy, not because they detected something, because something was appearing. Objects that shouldn't exist were suddenly there. Floating in the nebula, hidden by some kind of advanced stealth system, were thousands of weapons platforms. They were strange, angular things that hurt to look at. They didn't follow normal physics. Parts of them seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Energy readings were off the charts. Whatever power source they used, it was nothing the Council had ever seen. "Counselor," a sensor officer said, her voice shaking. "I'm counting over 10,000 individual platforms. Each one is reading as more powerful than our entire fleet combined." "What are these things?" "Human engineering," Vren whispered. 50 years of it, without restrictions, without oversight, without anyone telling them what was too dangerous to build. A communication request came through. Dr. Soman's face appeared on the screen. She looked different than before. Not tired now, focused, determined. Behind her, Vren could see other humans working at stations he didn't recognize. "You came," she said. "Good, I wasn't sure you would. The Council has a history of ignoring human advice." There was no warmth in her voice. No friendship, just cold efficiency. "We're here," Vren replied. "What do you need us to do?" "Stay out of the way. Park your military vessels at the coordinates I'm sending now. Keep the civilian ships behind them. What's about to happen isn't something you want to be close to." Minho looked offended. "We came to fight. We can help." Dr. Soman's expression didn't change. "No, you can't. Your weapons are designed for peacekeeping. They're useless against the Shrouded. You'd just die. We don't need more deaths. We need witnesses. Someone has to survive to remember what happened here, what we did, what you made us become." Before Vren could respond, the sensor screamed again. The Shrouded had found them. Hundreds of dark ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the nebula. They had followed the Council fleet. Now they moved in for the kill. "They're here," Minho said unnecessarily. Every screen showed the same thing. The massive light-absorbing vessels that had destroyed so many Council worlds. They moved in perfect formation, efficient and deadly. Vren felt the old fear return. Dr. Soman watched them approach with no emotion at all. "Good, let them come. Let them see what humanity built while you celebrated our exile." She turned to someone off-screen. "Fleet Admiral Junho, you have weapons free." "Show them," a new voice came through the channel. Male, calm, with the kind of authority that comes from years of command. "Understood. All platforms activate. Target acquisition complete. Fire when ready." What happened next would haunt Vren for the rest of his life. The human weapons platforms didn't fire conventional weapons. They fired reality itself, space-twisted, time-bent. The Shrouded ships didn't explode. They unmade. They simply ceased to exist, erased from the universe as if they had never been there at all. Some platforms fired singularity missiles that created tiny black holes, swallowing entire Shrouded vessels before collapsing. Others used dimensional weapons that folded enemy ships into spaces that couldn't exist. Still others fired something that looked like pure light but wasn't light at all. Whatever it touched stopped being matter and became energy. The shrouded, who had torn through council defenses like paper, lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes of systematic destruction. 4 minutes of watching an entire invasion fleet get erased from existence. When it ended, there was nothing left. No debris, no survivors. Just empty space where hundreds of ships used to be. The council fleet sat in stunned silence. Vren couldn't process what he had seen. The power humanity had just displayed was beyond anything in council history. Beyond anything they thought possible. This wasn't military technology. This was godlike power. Fleet Admiral Junho's voice returned. Threat eliminated. Scanning for additional contacts. All platforms remain active. Dr. Soman, the council's guests are requesting communication. Dr. Soman turned back to the screen. She looked at Vren with something between pity and contempt. You wanted to know what we've been doing for 50 years? That building weapons you called illegal. Developing technology you called dangerous. Becoming exactly what you feared. And you know what? You were right to fear us. Vren found his voice. Why help us then? If you hate us so much, why not let the shrouded finish the job? Because humans don't punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty, Dr. Soman replied. Those refugees behind you? Those families? Those children? They didn't exile us. They didn't call us warmongers. They were just trying to live their lives. We won't let them die for your mistakes, she paused. But don't mistake mercy for forgiveness. We remember everything. Every insult. Every closed door. Every time we offered help and you offered exile. We saved you because it was the right thing to do. Not because you deserved it. The screen changed. It showed the quantum barrier around the Perseus arm opening. Just for a moment. Just enough for sensors to see what was beyond. Vren's breath caught in his throat. Earth. But not the Earth they remembered. This Earth was transformed. Cities of impossible architecture covered the surface. Orbital structures surrounded the planet in perfect geometric patterns. And beyond them, filling the space between planets, were ships. Thousands of ships. Tens of thousands. Each one more advanced than the platforms they had just witnessed. Minho whispered what they were all thinking. How? How did they build all this in just 50 years? Dr. Selman smiled without humor. Time moves differently in pocket dimensions. 50 years for you was much longer for us. We've had time to grow, to evolve, to become something beyond what we were. The species you exiled doesn't exist anymore. What we are now is what you created through your fear. The barrier closed again. The glimpse of transformed Earth vanished. Dr. Somin continued. The shrouded will keep coming. We'll keep stopping them. Not for the council. For the innocent people caught in the middle. But when this is over, don't expect us to return. Don't expect friendship. Don't expect anything at all. We're placing autonomous defense platforms throughout the galaxy. They'll activate if the shrouded return. They'll protect you whether you want them to or not. Consider it our parting gift. A reminder of what you threw away when you chose fear over trust. Vren felt tears on his face. Is there anything we can do? Anything to make this right? Dr. Somin looked at him for a long moment. Remember, that's all. Remember that you had friends and you turned them into strangers. Remember that you had allies and you made them into ghosts. Remember that when fear guides your decisions, everyone loses. And most importantly, remember this. Humanity didn't leave because you were strong. We left because you were weak. Too weak to trust. Too weak to accept help. Too weak to look past your own fear. That weakness nearly destroyed you. Don't forget it. The transmission cut off. The human platforms began to move, spreading throughout the galaxy in coordinated jumps. They would watch. They would protect. But they would never be friends again. Minho looked at Vren. What do we tell the council? Vren stared at the space where the human fleet had been. The truth, all of it. Every mistake, every failure, every consequence. The galaxy needs to know what we did, what we lost, what we can never get back. As they prepared to return home, Vren received one final message. It was from Fleet Admiral Junho. Just a few words, but they cut deeper than any weapon. You wanted us gone. Congratulations. You got your wish. But ghosts don't forget, and neither will we. The council fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, carrying refugees back to safety. Behind them, invisible weapons watched over a galaxy that no longer wanted their creators. Humanity had saved everyone. But they had saved them as strangers, as distant guardians who would never again call the galaxy home. And somewhere in a pocket dimension on a transformed Earth, Humans went about their lives, building, growing, evolving, completely separate from the galaxy that once rejected them. They had everything they needed now. Everything except the one thing the Council had taken from them 50 years ago: trust. 5 years passed. The Shrouded never returned. The human defense platforms kept silent watch across the galaxy, protecting a civilization that had rejected their creators. The Council rebuilt slowly, carefully, carrying the weight of their mistake like a stone around their necks. Vren no longer served on the Council. He had resigned the day after returning from the Crimson Nebula, giving his position to someone younger, someone who hadn't voted to exile humanity. He spent his days now in a small archive he had built, collecting every piece of human history he could find: photos, records, stories, everything that remained. The archive had become something of a memorial. People came from across the galaxy to see it, to learn about the species they had driven away, to understand what they had lost. Some came with guilt, others with curiosity, all left with the same hollow feeling: the understanding that something precious had been thrown away and could never be recovered. Vren was organizing Ambassador Jiho's personal effects when Lieutenant Minho found him. Minho looked older now, tired from carrying his own share of the burden. He held a datapad. "You need to see this." Vren took the pad. It showed a transmission that had arrived that morning from a deep space probe. The message was old, pre-programmed to send 55 years after Earth's disappearance. It contained a single video file. He pressed play. Ambassador Jiho's face appeared, but this was different from the other recording. This Jiho looked peaceful, almost happy. He sat in what looked like a garden, real plants and real sunlight behind him. "Hello, old friend," Jiho said, and Vren's chest tightened at the words. "If you're watching this, 5 years have passed since humanity helped defend the galaxy. 5 years since we showed you what we became. I wanted to send one more message. One last explanation. You probably think we hate you, that we're bitter and angry and waiting for revenge. We're not. Hate requires energy we don't want to spend. Bitterness requires caring about opinions we've moved beyond. We're not angry anymore, Vren, we're just sad." Jiho gestured to the garden around him. "This is Earth now. Not the Earth you remember. We rebuilt everything, made it better. We have cities that touch the clouds. Technology that seems like magic. We're happy. We're safe. We're thriving. Everything the Council feared we might become if left alone, we became. But not because we wanted power. Because we wanted peace. The weapons we built, the platforms that saved you, we made them because we had to. Because we knew the Shrouded were coming and someone needed to be ready. We always knew we'd help when the time came. Not because we forgave you, but because that's what friends do, even when the friendship is broken." Jiho's smile faded. "But here's the thing you need to understand. We can't come back, even if we wanted to. The trust is gone. Trust is like glass, Vren. Once it breaks, you can glue the pieces back together, but you'll always see the cracks. Always feel the edges. It will never be whole again. We don't trust you anymore. We can't. And without trust, there can't be friendship. Without friendship, there can only be distance. So we'll stay here, in our pocket universe, and you'll stay there, in the galaxy we used to call home. We'll watch. We'll protect when necessary. But we'll never return." The ambassador stood and walked through his garden. "I want you to know something, though. About forgiveness. We do forgive you. All of you. The Council. The species that voted for exile. Everyone who was afraid of us. We forgive you because holding on to anger would poison us, not you. Forgiveness is for us. It lets us move on. It lets us be happy in our new home. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean we'll ever trust you again. Those are different things, Vren. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can let go of anger while remembering why you're staying away." Jiho sat back down, looking directly into the camera. "I recorded this message 5 years ago, right before we folded Earth into the pocket dimension. I knew we'd save you from the Shrouded when the time came. I knew you'd feel guilty afterward. I knew you'd want to make amends. So I'm telling you now, you can't. There's no making this right. There's only moving forward, build a better galaxy, learn from your mistakes. Teach the next generation what happens when fear guides decisions. Make sure no other species gets treated the way we were. That's how you honor what we once had. Not by apologizing, not by trying to bring us back, but by being better than you were. The ambassador's eyes grew distant. I think about the old days sometimes. Before the exile, we had such hope then. We thought we could be part of something bigger. Contribute to the galaxy. Make friends among the stars. We were naive. But it was a good kind of naive. The kind that believes in the best of people. That part of us died when you voted for exile. Not from anger. From understanding. We understood that the galaxy saw us as threats, not friends. Saw our strength as danger, not security. Saw our preparation as aggression, not protection. And once we understood that, we couldn't unsee it. We couldn't go back to hoping. Jiho looked sad now. Really sad. The younger generation of humans doesn't remember the galaxy. They were born in the pocket dimension. They've only known our transformed Earth. To them, you're just stories. Ancient history. They don't miss what they never had. Maybe that's better. Maybe they're luckier than we were. But those of us who remember, we carry that loss. We think about what might have been. The friendships that could have lasted. The cooperation that could have flourished. The future we could have built together. All of it gone because of fear. All of it lost because you couldn't trust us. The ambassador wiped his eyes. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. Guilt doesn't help anyone. I'm telling you so you understand the real cost of what happened. Not just the military power you lost. Not just the technology. But the relationship. The friendship. The trust. Those are harder to build than any weapon and easier to destroy than any city. So here's my final message to you, old friend. Live well, build well. Be better than you were. Treat the next strangers who arrive in your space with more kindness than you showed us. Learn from your mistakes so you don't repeat them. And know that somewhere in a dimension you can't reach, humanity is doing the same thing. Living, building, being better. We won't be friends again. But we don't have to be enemies either. We're just two civilizations that once knew each other and now don't. Ships passing in the night. That's okay. That's enough. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is let them go. We let you go 55 years ago. Now it's time for you to let us go too. Jiho stood one last time. Goodbye, Vren. Goodbye to the galaxy that was once our home. We'll watch over you from the shadows. We'll keep you safe from threats you can't see. But we'll do it as strangers now, as ghosts, as memories of what once was and what could never be again. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all we can ask for. The transmission ended. Vren sat in silence, tears streaming down his face. Minho put a hand on his shoulder. Are you okay? Vren shook his head. No, I don't think I'll ever be okay. But I understand now. Really understand. They don't hate us. They just don't trust us. And that's so much worse. Hate you can work through. But broken trust? That's forever. He looked around his archive at all the human artifacts he had collected. We need to make this bigger. We need to make sure every schoolchild in the galaxy learns about humanity. Not as heroes. Not as villains. But as the friends we drove away. The species we failed. The trust we broke. Minho nodded. The new council has already approved funding. They want to build monuments on every council world. Places where people can remember what we lost. What we threw away. Good, Vren said. That's good. Not because it will bring them back. But because we need to remember. Need to carry this lesson forward. Fear destroyed our friendship with humanity. We can't let fear destroy anything else. Years later, Vren would pass away surrounded by his collection of human memories. His final act was to record his own message for future generations. In it, he spoke about Ambassador Jiho, about Dr. Hanul and her sacrifice, about the humans who tried to warn them and were ignored, about the price of fear and the cost of broken trust. His last words were simple. Humanity vanished quietly. They didn't rage. They didn't threaten. They just left. And in leaving, they taught us the hardest lesson we ever learned, that the greatest losses aren't the ones that make noise. They're the ones that happen in silence. When friends become strangers. When trust becomes distance. When hope becomes memory. We exiled humanity out of fear. They saved us out of mercy. They forgave us out of kindness. But they'll never trust us again. And that more than any weapon or any threat is our true punishment. Not death. Not destruction. Just the knowledge that we had something precious and we threw it away. That we had friends and we turned them into ghosts. So remember them. Remember humanity. not as they were, but as what they represented. The chance for friendship, the offer of help, the possibility of trust. We had all of that and we chose fear instead. Learn from our mistake. Be better than we were. And maybe, someday when the next strangers arrive, you'll make a different choice. The message ended. Friends' Archive became a shrine. Millions visited it every year. They learned about humanity. They learned about fear.